Episode 2, Baseball, Business, and Family with 10-time Major League All-Star and serial entrepreneur, the one and only Steve Garvey. Stick around.
Welcome to Business Edge Radio, the show that gives you tips, tricks, tools, and techniques about how to build a more profitable business while at the same time creating your perfect lifestyle. It's a show about working less and living more. A few golden nuggets, a little bit of wisdom, and over 35 years of business experience to help you keep your edge. Lifestyle entrepreneur, best-selling author, internationally renowned business speaker, and daddy of 3, Mitche Graf brings the heat with actionable techniques for building the business and lifestyle of your dreams. Now your host, Mitche Graf.
Welcome to another episode of Business Edge Radio. I hope that the sun is shining wherever you are and that you and your family are safe and healthy. I am honored today to have 10-time Major League Baseball All-Star and future Hall of Famer Steve Garvey on the show. He played first base for his entire 19-year career, won the National League MVP award, was a 2-time Championship Series MVP, a 2-time MVP of the All-Star Game, and to this day holds the record for most consecutive games played in the National League with 1,207, which is about 7.5 years. A feat that we discuss in the interview. We all know him as an incredible professional baseball player that played for the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, but what you may not know about him is he is quite the successful entrepreneur as well. Though Steve Garvey's career has taken him around the world, his roots and his family are by far the most important thing to him. Steve Patrick Garvey was born in 1948 in Tampa, Florida, received his BS degree from Michigan State University, where he was an All-American football player and a starting defensive back for the Spartan football team. In his baseball career, Garvey was a .294 hitter with 272 home runs, 1,308 RBIs, and played in a total of 2,332 games. The playing field has changed from the baseball diamond to the corporate boardroom, but the intensity and integrity with which Steve Garvey plays his position as president of the Garvey Management Group remains the same. The transition from professional athlete to corporate executive was made smoother because of an insightful character trait that Steve has, the ability to look to and plan for the future. Steve has been featured in endorsement and promotional campaigns for companies which include Adidas, Anheuser-Busch, Banker Systems, Chevrolet, Jockey, McDonald's, Nestle's, Pepsi-Cola, Transamerica, Card Service International, Golf One, and many more. He's always enjoyed a talent for marketing, advertising, communication, and corporate relations. This, coupled with his experience representing numerous products through the years, his interest in increasing his business savvy, as he has his athletic ability, and his desire to provide corporations and businesses knowledgeable consulting, has inspired his founding of his marketing group. Another one of Steve's unique skills is his motivational speaking. For over 25 years, he has spoken to groups, corporations, conventions, and universities around the world. His topics include being the best you that you can be, teamwork, crisis management, leadership, integrity in life and business, and the rewards of living a Christian life. Steve has created several TV series and specials, been a TV host for events like the Little League World Series and the Home and Family Show on Family Channel. He's also appeared in major movies, sitcoms, and weekly drama series. Garvey's efforts have not been exclusively focused on building businesses. Giving back is also a Steve Garvey trademark. He succeeded Frank Sinatra as the National Campaign Chairman of the Multiple Sclerosis Society. In addition, he assists in a variety of other causes: Special Olympics, juvenile diabetes, the Blind Children's Center, United Way, Ronald McDonald House, St. Vincent de Paul Center, Pediatric AIDS, the Starlight Foundation, and ALS. In his spare time, Garvey also holds positions on numerous civic activities and corporate boards. He also served on the boards of Catholic University of America, University of San Diego, and the Scripps Clinic and Research Foundation. With all of that, let's dive into our in-depth discussion with the one and only Steve Garvey. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, I think most people will probably know you from your professional baseball career with the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. But you've carved out quite a niche in the business world during your playing career and since. But I want to start back when you were young. Your grandfather purchased a hotel in Southern Florida and convinced your mom and dad, and I believe your mom was pregnant with you at the time,
Right.
to pack up from up north, and they became the managers of the hotel that was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And one of the main tenets of a good business, obviously, is to have good location and to be convenient, neither of which this hotel had. I know you were young for most of that time, but were there any lessons that you learned from your folks about the experience that they had?
So, in making good decisions, we try to teach our children this. The most important two things are to get as much information as you possibly can. And number two, not to make a knee-jerk decision. So in that case, my mother's father had this great gas station on Route 27 on Long Island, New York, on the way to the Hamptons, perfect spot. Guy came in on a January night late. My grandfather was up to his elbows in grease, and guy said, "Hey, Joe, I got this motel in Tampa, Florida, and I can't get down there. Let's just trade. You got to be tired of this cold and all this stuff." And my grandfather looked at him and took the grease rag and said, "Harry, you got it. Deal." So he calls up my grandmother and says, "May, we're moving to Florida." She said, "What?" "We're moving to Florida." "I traded the gas." "You traded what?" So they called my parents up the next day, and it was post-war, and Dad was working as a transit bus driver on Long Island. Mom was American Airlines, but nothing solid. So they all got up within the next week and packed up and moved to Florida. And they got to the little motel on the outskirts of Tampa and found out that it was about 1.5 miles from the main road and was relatively isolated. And there really was a reason why the guy couldn't get down there, is because it was making no money. So, but they decided to stay and try to make it work. And it lasted about 1.5 years. And my dad and mom said, really the best thing was that they had me, and it was going to be in Florida. The weather was better. Dad ended up being a ground bus driver, and mom ended up being executive secretary. So sometimes those knee-jerk decisions do turn out for the best.
Well, and that his experience driving bus led you to your first experience in professional baseball as a bat boy, right?
That's right. In, end of March of 1956, Dad came home. I was in the second grade, and we sat down to dinner, and he said, "You want to skip school tomorrow?" And I said, "God, Dad, really? Why?" He says, "Well, I got a charter to pick up the Brooklyn Dodgers from the Tampa airport, take them to St. Petersburg to play the Yankees in an exhibition game." And he said, "I think it might be a fun day for you and I." Now, Dad was a Dodger fan because my other grandfather in New York was a Brooklyn policeman. So my mom was a Yankee fan. She gloated a lot because they always won the World Series, except for the fall of '55. So actually, that next day, I was hopefully going to bat boy for the world champion Brooklyn Dodgers. And the next day, we got the bus early in the morning, drove to the tarmac of Tampa International Airport. At 8:15, the K. O'Malley one landed, which was the Dodger plane, and off came Hodges and Carrillo and Snyder and Robinson, Campanella, Walt Alston, the great manager. And that was the beginning of me falling in love with the game. I got a chance to bat boy that day. I watched batting practice for the Yankees and saw Mickey Mantle hitting these big home runs into Pinellas Bay over in St. Pete. And, these moments, and especially I do a lot of motivational speaking. And I say, this was the biggest moment in my life. It was only 7, but it was the biggest moment of my life. But it turned out to be the most influential because I fell in love with the game, developed a passion for it, continued to bat boy. The traveling secretary really liked my dad. So for the next, it turned out to be 25 years. But for the next 7 or 8 years, I got to bat boy in spring training until I got to high school and had to play baseball then. Loved to play baseball. So I grew up around my idols. What a neat way to grow up. But I listened and learned. And my mother always said, you can't talk and listen at the same time. And she was right. So I absorbed as much as I could to the point where 12 years after that first day as a bat boy, I was drafted in the first round by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, actually, you were drafted first by the Twins, and you decided to pass on that opportunity. And, of course, 2 years later, the Dodgers drafted you, and the rest is history. In the business world, that word, opportunity, is something that we're always looking for, right? Every day we're looking for that opportunity. What's next? And I think most people would have probably wanted to jump at the first opportunity with the Twins. What was it that made you decide to be patient and pass on that opportunity?
Well, you always hear about different ingredients for success. I think the first one is you have to have a passion for what you do. The second is you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to prepare for opportunity when opportunity knocks. And if you have that passion, you're prepared when opportunity comes, then you'll have the greatest chance for success, which is the end game. And this year in spring training, I had a chance to talk to the Dodger players in the clubhouse. And 2 years ago, I talked about two things. Number one, if you put a Dodger uniform on, you should feel something, because along with the Yankees, two greatest organizations with history, on and off the field, the Dodgers, Jackie Robinson, have touched many, many people. So I said, you've got to feel something. Number two is your career is a blink of the eye. So take every day and continue to work as hard as you possibly can to maximize your effort, to see if you can, like the old saying, reach for the moon, and if you fall short, you'll be a star. Okay. So I got good feedback from the guys. So this year I talked about really about three things. First of all, you have to have humility. I think in life we know that at any moment we can be face to face with humility, face to face with something we may have decided was the wrong thing to do afterwards. So I said, always be humble with your life. Know that you have the opportunity to touch others. I said, number two, you can't work too hard, which is a follow-up on that first meeting 2 years ago. I say you have to push yourself each day to find out how good you can be. And number three is be smart. On and off the field, make the right decisions. There's no gray area. Things are really black and white. Ask yourself, if you did make a mistake, am I going to make the same mistake twice? And the key in life, I think, is not to make the same mistake twice. We're fallible. We're human beings. The most important thing is to learn from our mistakes, to accept our successes, and to continue to push ourselves.
Yeah, you're right. And I think anyone that's played sports like you and I, or we have kids that played sports, we know that the most valuable lessons sometimes come from being on a team, and how to win humbly and how to lose gracefully, what it's like to have other people depend on you as a teammate. What lessons did you pick up along the way, not just in your business career, but your playing career, everything? What lessons did you pick up that you've been able to pass on to your kids, and it was important for you to pass on to those kids?
Well, the great thing about sports is it teaches you, as we were talking about, teaches humility and how to never give up, how to continue to fight when you're down. It teaches us that it should be a marathon and not a sprint. If you think of it as a sprint, there's going to be too many short spurts and stops. So think of the long game of what you're doing. And I've always told the kids it's very, very important. And if you look at the game of baseball, our national pastime, that it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. That when you're on the field, it's 9 against 9 players doing their specific job, leading towards the team's success. I love individual sports. I love golf and tennis. I've played both significantly. It's mano a mano, it's one-on-one, but it really takes a team to prepare to get that athlete on the court or on the course or on the field. So, and whatever we do in life, it really is a team effort. And I always talk about, especially when I speak, about the home team, the most important team in our life. If you look back, I'm 71 now, or if you look forward and have foresight, is that home team is going to be the foundation of who you are, what you believe in, the wind beneath your wings as far as your strength is concerned. They're going to be there when you need them, and you are going to be there when they need you. So faith, hope, perseverance, those are the things that I think are so very important. But team sports, sometimes individuals make mistakes. It's the realization that, again, pick yourself up and try not to make that same mistake twice again.
That's right. Did you have any childhood businesses when you were growing up?
Oh, I was a mini entrepreneur in Tampa, Florida, starting when I was about, I think probably about 11 or 12. I mowed lawns in Tampa, or all in Florida. It rained so much that the St. Augustine grass grew really fast. So there was always a yard that needed to be mowed, and I would charge $5 for mowing and trimming. And I'd wash cars. We had 14 orange and grapefruit trees on our yard, so I would sell those. And it's not like it was rare in Florida, but usually I looked at the more senior neighbors, so to speak, and I would go around. And once they started calling me Stevie, I knew that I was going to be Instacart, so to speak, of the 1960s.
And your career began really in earnest during your very first year when you started getting endorsements from some of the biggest brands in the world. But there were a couple on this list that actually really caught my eye: Natural Balance Pet Foods and California Pizza Kitchen. First of all, I assume you love pets and pizza, but what was it about those deals that got you interested from a business standpoint?
Well, let's go back to 1983 and the transition from Los Angeles to San Diego. And I knew there was going to be life after sports. I thought this would probably be my last contract. It was going to be for 5 years, and it would take me till, 38 or 39. Excuse me. So I started Garvey Marketing Group, which I liked the idea of marketing, had been involved with a number of corporations as a spokesman, always got deeper involved with the companies and their marketing. So I brought to San Diego and La Jolla a fellow named John Boggs, who's one of the great agents in the game of baseball now. And I had met him playing in the Dominican Republic, and John's probably about 8 years younger than me, but I helped him, or he helped me set up an office in La Jolla to be kind of a boutique sports marketing company, so that I could get my BS or my BA and literally on the job training with Garvey Marketing Group. So, we had big clients that I had, Prudential, American Airlines, Adidas, McDonald's, Fortune 500 companies. But as time went on, we became, more of a communications company. We got into radio and television. And then over the last 20, 25 years, we've been more of a media consulting company. So with those big name and some blue chip companies, all of a sudden, companies like Natural Balance came along. Never thought I'd have a pet food company as a client.
Do you have dogs and cats?
Yeah, we had dogs growing up. Yeah, my first dog was a German Shepherd my parents brought to school. I was in the first grade. It was my birthday, and I came out, and they had it waiting for me there. So, but we've had dogs over the years. So Natural Balance and a fellow named Joey Herrick, who's the founder and creator, we worked together for 5 or 6 years at a tough time. It was 2008, 2009 when I started. And we made the decision to, while everybody was cutting back due to the recession, let's fill those spaces that everybody was avoiding. And we actually grew the company by probably about 150, 60% over the next 3 years. So that was a great education. California Pizza Kitchen, 2 founders, Larry Flax, Rick Rosenfield, were dear friends. They wanted to get into Dodger Stadium or asked me about Dodger Stadium to be sponsors. I said, what's more natural than California Pizza Kitchen and Dodger Stadium? So we got on that course, which turned out to be very successful. They ended up selling the 70% of the company to Pepsi, bought it back, sold it again, took it public. It's a long story, but it's 2 of the smartest guys in the business. And never thought I'd have a Indian gaming casino as a client. I've had 3 of those. Never thought I'd have a bread company as a client. And King's Hawaiian has been a great client over the last 5 or 6 years. And then there have been times when I've gone into the entrepreneurial business creation area, and our Cadenwood company now is a little over 1.5 years old, and we're making great strides in the CBD consumer goods business.
In your playing career, one of the most incredible journeys I think that anyone's ever dreamed of. Your accomplishments are many, but the thing that sticks out to me the most is your consecutive games played, which is 1,207 in a row, which is like, 7.5 seasons without missing a single game?
Yeah.
When you're in the middle of that, you obviously had to deal with lots of adversity, like we do in the business world. You had nagging injuries, I'm sure, maybe a cold or a flu bug, or just days that you just want to stay in bed and sleep. What was it in your upbringing that drove you to always want to show up and perform your duties, whether it be a job or on the field?
Well, it was 2 great parents. I was an only child, which is the irony. I ended up with 7 kids, and we got 7 grandkids as of 2020. But 2 hardworking parents got up each morning and went to their jobs and came home and And we had a grandmother that lived with us starting when I was about 6 years old. My grandfather passed away, and she had some serious medical challenges, neurological. So, I had to take care of her when Mom was at work, and I would come home from school. But she was a great inspiration to me. Somebody who couldn't use her hands, was very frail, but still did things like vacuum the house. She'd put the vacuum in her arms and push it around, and it would take her 2 hours instead of 10 minutes or 15 minutes. She would iron. She would take a shirt, move it with her teeth, and then push the iron and then back into an aluminum pan. And a shirt would take her an hour or more. A great inspiration for a woman who could easily have sat down and just commanded attention or people serving her, but who wanted to do her part in our family. So I learned about hard work, and then it just carried over. I think as an only child, you push yourself. Once I fell in love with sports, especially during the summer, Mom would go to work at 8, Dad had already left. I would go out and start dragging the kids out of the house up and down the block, and we would be playing baseball or football or basketball, whatever it was. And Grandma would, when she needed me, she would click the porch light on, and I would keep checking all the time. So when I saw the porch light, would have to call a timeout, and I'd run and do whatever she needed me to do. But that's for pretty heady stuff for a kid that's up and say under 12 years old, and then even longer. But it teaches you that it's important in life. God gives us this wonderful life. He gives us free will and choice, but He asks us to be responsible. And growing up, taking care of my grandmother, being part of this home team, this family, I think laid the groundwork for my profession. Probably the greatest thing God gave me the ability to do was play the game of baseball. And I always felt that if I had a little stomach ache, I did have migraine headaches, I had pulled muscles, I had hairline fractures, little fingers here and there. But if I could go out there and I felt I could still contribute, my teammates really depended on me. As soon as I got entrenched in the lineup starting in 73 and then 74, I felt that not only my teammates in my organization, which is paramount because they hire you, obviously, but the fans. Once I started to get a fan base and Dodger fans and Garvey fans, if somebody came from Bakersfield, 3.5, 4 hours from LA, and I didn't play that day because of an upset stomach or a little headache, then I would be letting them down, wouldn't be very responsible. So that's that foundation of my early childhood led into being an adult. And I've been irresponsible sometimes.
We all have.
I get up each day and I try to, make good things happen that day. And if I get challenged that day, I try to learn from it and come back and turn it around. Like I said before, not make that same mistake twice.
Yeah, we get knocked down 99 times, but as long as we get up that 100th time, it's a good day. I think the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs, is that ability to have that proper work-life balance. And a lot of young entrepreneurs get sucked into the cave of the 8-hour work week. And by the time they get home, there's no mental energy. They just have nothing left to give the family. You call it the home team.
Right.
How have you been able to have that beautiful and that perfect work-life balance, knowing that the family comes first and all those tentacles, and then from there you kind of reverse engineer it, and the business model becomes developed from there? How have you been able to find that perfect balance?
Well, I think that was well said, Mitch. And I think that one of the things I've been able to do in my life is compartmentalize, and that's to put things in certain areas of my brain, and to be able to kind of put them there and then focus on what's the most important thing. And of course, it always comes back to the home and family, but without the ability to work and make a living, then you can't really provide for that family you love so much. So there are times when you have to make sacrifices. And I think if you're talking through with your wife and your family, and sometimes everybody says, why do you have to go? Why are you gone so much? I wish you were home more. then we sit down for a few minutes and we look at the long run, so to speak. And yeah, I wish I didn't have to travel as much as I do, but I do for a reason. And that's to be able to provide for the needs of my family, to be able to do things, especially as Gigi and Papa now, as grandparents.
Your Papa?
Yeah,
Gigi and Papa, huh?
Yeah. So we had the 7 kids and now the 7 grandkids, and the 7 kids are in the bleachers now compared to those little kids. But it's important to always keep things in perspective. I think faith is important. Continued hard work and dedication to those principles you believe in. And then I think always stimulating your mind. And the other thing too, by the way, is you got to laugh. You got to laugh at yourself. You have to laugh at life itself. And I think if you keep doing that, then there's a proper balance in life.
I'll be back with more of my interview with Steve Garvey after a few words from our partners. Hi there, this is Mitche Graf, the host of Business Edge Radio. Would you do me a couple of very big favors? First, I invite you to subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes. This will help other forward thinkers just like you discover the show. Second, I ask that you share this show on your social media platforms. And third, I would love it if you connected with us on social at Unleashed Tribe on Facebook and Instagram, or log on to powermarketing101.com to find more great resources. If you could do this for me, you would be a superhero in my book, and I would be eternally grateful. This episode is being brought to you by the School of Hard Knocks. If you're anything like me, you know many people who have wounds and scars from battles won and lost in their life. We've all heard it said before that, oh, he or she is a student at the School of Hard Knocks, or the best lessons I've ever learned are from the School of Hard Knocks. Well, this prestigious university has some of the best alumni in the entire world, and the curriculum is more difficult than Stanford Medical School. You can't apply for admission, and you don't get to pick your classes. We all know that special person who always seems to be hit with adversity and obstacles, but always comes out the other end with a smile. Now, there's a special gift that is unlike anything they've ever received. As we all know, the School of Hard Knocks has one of the most difficult curriculum of any school in the world, and you now can give the gift of a PhD from this prestigious university. This authentic-looking diploma is printed on the same high-quality paper that the top schools in the world use for their diplomas, and comes with an official gold foil seal that will look great framed in any room. Signed by both the president of Perpetual Hard Knocks as well as the dean of adversity, this PhD degree will light up any room and become the center of conversation. The diploma reads PhD in Street Smarts and Learning the Hard Way, with a minor in Picking Yourself Up by the Bootstraps. This hard-fought degree is indeed a gift that money cannot buy. Get one for your spouse, for your boss, your parent, your best friend. Give them the gift that money can't buy today. For a limited time, when you place your order at www.schoolofhardknocks.net, you'll receive a special Business Edge Radio discount of 20% at checkout when you enter the code word EDGE. Once again, 20% off your first order when you use the code EDGE at checkout. And to sweeten the pot just a little bit more, I'm also going to include a complimentary digital copy of High Voltage Branding, Go From Ordinary to Extraordinary, as my gift to you. www.schoolofhardknocks.net. That's www.schoolofhardknocks.net. Get one for that person in your life who seems to have everything, or heck, get one for yourself. You've earned it. In today's business world, it is vitally important that you understand what I call the 7 pillars of business success, which are lifestyle design, time management, branding, sales, marketing, pricing, and social media. Regardless of what industry you're in, and whether you have a brick and mortar or you're only online, having a solid foundation in these skill sets will set you up for success down the road. And to personally help you with your journey, I've come out with the Business Edge podcast, which you're listening to right this second, and I've also written a book that I can highly recommend called Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course, now available on Amazon.com, and will give you the 30,000-foot view of all these topics and many, many more. Reading is something that is slowly being replaced by videos and audiobooks or just scrolling through your newsfeed on social media. But I've always found reading to be kind of an escape from whatever is happening in the world. This book will help you slow down just a little bit so you can get your business house in order, so to speak, and get your creative juices a-flowing. Log on to Amazon.com today and get your copy of Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course. You can search my name, Mitch Graf, or search the title of the book. In the dog-eat-dog world of business success, the weak will perish and the strong will survive. Which will you be? Now let's get back to our fascinating interview with the incredible Steve Garvey. I know you've had many successes on the field, but tell me what you feel is your biggest success, your business success off the field in your career.
Well, Mitch, that's a good question. I think there may have been times when I've had ideas or there may have been plans that didn't work for whatever reason. But I think I've always learned from those. And I think I can honestly say I've always given anyone I work for their money's worth. And I think most of the time more than they expected. When I talk to a client now, at my age, I don't need a lot of clients. I really don't want a lot of clients. I think if I have 2 or 3 good clients now, I'm able to service them and to and do the best job that I can do for them because of the knowledge of things I've tried, haven't tried over the years, been successful with, haven't been successful. But in the end, every time I kind of take the 9-inning philosophy with my clients. We kind of start in spring training, and I get to find out more about the company and personnel, and then I try to find out what their goals are. And then I try to make strides in those first 3 innings to laying a foundation of who I am with with leadership in the company and the employees. I try to get ingrained with the employees so that they feel I'm just one of them. I try to instill in the executives that I'm there to support them. I'm always there, pick up the phone 24/7, ask me a question, tell me your needs. I'll give you my opinion based on experience and based on what I think is the right thing to do. Having the right character and moral.
You teach them if they have to lay down a bunt single or swing away, right?
Well, yes, absolutely. There are times, most of the time, when you work for PepsiCo, so to speak, huge conglomerate. You work for any other company, American Airlines or whatever. These are companies that have been around for a long time. They've tried a lot of things. They've been successful for reasons, but they're constantly looking around the corner to find out where the next business direction is. And I think that's one of the things that I help all my clients with is I help them look around the corner, the VPs of marketing and operations and president and CEO, and try to help them get on the right path once they make that turn and to prepare for it. Like I said, back in 2000 to 2008, 2009 with Natural Balance, we decided to be aggressive. Instead of pulling back, cutting the budget, cutting TV, radio, conventions, we went out full force, and we started to get more shelf space on Petco, which was their main distribution center. And by the time 3 years was done, we had more real estate on Petco because we stepped in at a time when everybody stepped back. We seized more radio time. When advertisers backed away from radio, we stepped in. And it's amazing how radio stations appreciate that. And they'll give you an extra 2 or 3 spots, maybe an hour a day, that they couldn't fill simply because of loyalty. So I learned that over the years. Loyalty is so very, very important. And I've always said to people I work with, tell me if there's something else you need me to do, something more you need me to do. I'm going to keep coming at you with ideas. I'm going to mention things to you. I'm not offended if you decide not to do them, but I'm going to mention them only because I think they're going to be an asset to the company.
Right. Well, success is easy to swallow for sure. I mean, we all love success. We like getting a W in our column. Tell me about your biggest colossal failure, whether it was an idea that you had and you tried and it flopped, or some other kind of a business failure that you've had in your career.
Well, it's interesting. we did this project, I think my second year in San Diego, with McDonald's. Of course, Ray Kroc, who's the owner of the San Diego Padres, and we did some things for Ray. And then we brought to him this idea of Ronald McDonald House and McDonald's doing a baseball themed promotion where one player on each team would wear the yellow gold wristband that had Ronald McDonald House logo on one side and the arches on the other. So I said to John Boggs, I said, John, we've got to go through Major League Baseball to get this approved, because they're very touchy about sponsorships on the uniform and all this stuff, but wristbands really aren't. But we went through the process, went to New York, met with MLB. The president of the National League wasn't there at the time, but I made sure that he was going to be briefed with everything. They said, it looks okay, go ahead. And the promotion was go to McDonald's, buy a Big Mac meal, get a set of wristbands. Well, we got 30 players in Major League Baseball to wear it. A lot of them ended up being Hall of Famers. Darryl Strawberry, we got him. It was important to get the two New York guys to be prominent. So we start the promotion. It's like the second week, and Darryl ends up on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but he doesn't really have the Ronald McDonald showing. He's got the arches. So if it comes out on a Tuesday, by noon West Coast time, we got a call from Major League Baseball that what are you doing? You're putting a logo on the uniform and all this stuff. And we said, we went through this with you. Yeah, but that wristbands aren't part of the uniform. And we went into a debate about this, and they said, you've got to stop this program. Well, we weren't going to override Major League Baseball.
You got your hand slapped.
Yeah, we ended up going on Good Morning America, and Chubb Feeney was the president, and he and I debated, and I think I probably won the debate, but unfortunately we had to shelve the program. But we felt that we probably could have done over 1 million wristbands that would have had the logo of both McDonald's and Ronald McDonald House, and there would have been a portion donated from each one of those purchases at McDonald's to Ronald McDonald House. So I think in concept it was a great idea, patting myself on the shoulder. In reality, it was ahead of its time because there still had to be more clarity with Major League Baseball. They were too encompassing with what was simply a wristband. And over the years, you've seen a lot more logoism, so to speak, with shoes and gloves and wristbands and all that stuff. So failure, well, yes, we didn't raise the money we wanted to. Conceptually, I thought it was one of our best ideas. It was just its time hadn't come yet.
Well, like you said, it was ahead of its time. And I think back then, I don't remember any of those being around. I mean, today you give them out as a freebie, a freemium. You just hand them out. It says, kick cancer or whatever the message is. Sure. And they're just given out like water. Back then, were you the first one? I mean, was it something that was that innovative and new that you were like on the bleeding edge?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're way on print. Yeah, absolutely.
Way on the bleeding edge.
Well, it was like I did Drive Time Radio the year after I retired. It was with Noble Broadcasting in San Diego, XTRA, big 60,000 watt station. The head of it said to me, we've got terrible ratings in drive time in the morning, 5:30 to 9. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely. I love radio. Two things I always really liked and was really interested in were radio and publishing, and ended up to be involved with both. But we started with Garvey and Company, 5:30 to 9. It was just me and a producer. Now all these guys have 5 or 6 producers, Levitard and all these guys. They interact with them all the time. And we had a clock, and I had about probably 18 minutes each half hour where I would actually be interviewing somebody. We ended up doing things like getting call-ins from the Tour de France and Wimbledon, and a lot of contacts I had. And we were really ahead of our time then. The problem was it was the idea of this interaction, and simulcast it was another 15, 20, 25 years after that happened. If I would have been able to have that type of format, had another host or two with me, who knows how far we could have gone. But really ahead of our time for a local morning drive time, talking around the world with people, giving us updates on sports. And I always thought in that case, too, we're just a little ahead of our time.
Well, and I think that's one of the skill sets that any entrepreneur needs, is to have the ability to be a forward thinker, to look what's next, not just be dealing with what your 9-to-5 details are today of answering phones and mopping your floors and coming up with sales programs, but what's next? What's in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now? How can you be the innovator and on the bleeding edge, so to speak, like you were with those wristbands? And that's something that every day we all need to kind of be thinking about in our own businesses. What is next, and what can we do to refine? I call it keeping the edge of the sword sharp. What can we do to keep that edge sharp and move the thing forward?
Well, if we can just take 2 minutes and go back to publishing, I was hired as executive publisher of Sport Magazine back in 93, 94. And it had been sold 9 times. Peterson Publishing picked it up, their Motor, Trend, and T-Mac. They had 27 different labels. So I looked at the magazine. It was weathered. It was behind its times. So, you got to be out 6 weeks with the editorial. So I said, we've got to get this up to speed. Computers were starting really great traction then. And I decided that we were going to have to do more pieces on preseason of each sport and more profiles in each sport, put schedules in so that it could eventually be more of a leave behind magazine, because there was going to be a time where it was starting to switch more to digital and to the cloud, and a monthly magazine, Sports Illustrated, was starting to lose pages. And how could a monthly magazine ever stay? So we eventually, by the time I was only there about a year and a half, 2 years, they decided to sell it again. I love that job, by the way. I had offices in New York, Chicago, San Francisco. Had a suite at Madison Square Garden, all that stuff. But it eventually became more of a leave behind, and then of course it was sold and it was put on the shelf again. But I think that was one of my best ideas and looking forward for the digital age. But I think there's 2 things we're working on now. One is the consumer goods company Cadenwood, which we created with 5 great executives early in 2019. It's a CBD infused consumer products company. Our first product, Level Select CBD, came out in early September. It's a topical pain relief, roll-on creams. It's got CBD at 3 different levels, 300, 600, 1200. CBD is a medicinal element and not the psychogenic as THC is. We're strictly CBD. And we really have made great strides. Our goal is to be the preeminent brand in that cannabinoid, cannabis type of industry. So we came out with that. We came out with the tinctures probably about 3 months ago. We'll have a 15 product consumer product line by the end of or the middle of 2023. So I think what we're doing is cutting edge. We're farmers. I've never thought I'd be a farmer, but we're farmers. We also own our own genetics of the hemp seeds, which is so very, very important. So Cadenwood is positioned, I would think, within 3 or 4 years to be preeminent with the Level Select brand. Purity brand is going to be more face creams, beauty products, waters, that kind of stuff. So Cadenwood is off and running, and we have great hopes and faith and a great executive team. And then we've just developed a relationship with Pacific Stem Cells. Dr. Mike Berkowitz in Newport, California, has been doing some significant accomplishments in the world of using stem cells for a variety of different illnesses and in orthopedic rehabs. So it's another twist in my business career, going from consumer goods of things like McDonald's. I worked for Raisin Bran at one time, Pepsi-Cola, to being more on the medical enhancement area of things for the consumer that I think can make a difference in their lives and make them physically and mentally stronger and better, and God willing, have much longer age time to them. So the stem cells are significant now. So the two things, Cadenwood and Pacific stem cells, are the two new areas for me. I'm always open for new challenges, but like I said before, 2 or 3 at the most, so that I can concentrate on being able to make a difference in those areas.
How can folks find out about those products?
Well, you can go to Level Select CBD, and there'll be all the information you need with the products there. We're direct-to-consumer line. We'll be going into your traditional retailers, I think, within 2 weeks with the Lion Food Chain. Then we hope in the very near future to get into CVS and Walgreens and Walmart and Target and those areas because we're unique and different. But we, you also, with that CBD area, it's finally starting to get into some shelves. But when you see ours, you go, wow, that's great packaging. And I think that Garvey said it was really working, so I'll give it a try. But I use everything that I've ever endorsed, and the Level Select has made a difference because, again, being an old athlete and having arthritis, it's made a significant difference in shoulders, elbows, neck. So I can really say it's worked for me.
Just from what you've told me, and I know it's just the tip of the iceberg, you have so many balls in the air, Steve. There's got to be a secret ingredient that you have in your recipe for success on how you manage your time. What do you do in the mornings when you wake up? Kind of what's your routine, and how do you make sure you get the day off started correctly? And give us a time-saving tip on how you can get a lot done in a little amount of time.
Well, again, it's about priorities. I have to really make sure that I stay healthy. So I usually target most of the early mornings up until late morning, working on things and staying in shape. My wife, Candace, and I have a nice sized property here in Indian Wells, California. And she's a landscape designer and interior designer, and she needs somebody to lug the dirt. So I'm the guy for that. But again, eating right. Again, exercises are very important. I probably get 10 to 12,000 steps in a day. Using weights and stretching bands are very, very important. I've got 2 hip replacements and left shoulder replaced. One more, Mitch, the right side, and I'll be bionic, but it's a good place to do it. But I think
might be able to get you back on the playing field again if that happens.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, I'm very honored to be doing this interview with you. People interested in the world of sports and business. I think it's so very important again to be able to work with our children. Sean's at Michigan State. Ryan's involved with Cadenwood at Newport. Olivia, this is our younger 3. She was sports anchor at NBC Palm Springs, and now is on her way to Washington, where she'll be the same position with ABC in Washington. So we're very blessed and very proud of her after about 14 months to make the jump from Palm Springs to Washington. So all of our kids are, I think in life, we're measured by our children, and I would like to think that anybody that saw our kids would say, they must have done something right. So, and then I defer to the Queen. My wife Candace is the wind beneath my wings. We've been married over 30 years now. She's the one, when I start to wander with my thinking, she brings it down to the straight and narrow course. She doesn't let me get detoured too often. In terms of time management, and she'll say, okay, let's focus on this, and she's quite successful in her own right. She was on TV for a few years, Home and Family Show. She just has that intuition that I use to bounce off all the time. So we're a very good team. I've been blessed to find my one and only, and to have these wonderful children, and the rooms still aren't as clean as I want them to be. I try not to.
That
think
was
about
your
that
nickname.
dorm room,
Your
that
playing
dorm
room,
room
right,
Michigan
Mr.
State, or
Clinton.
Ryan's apartment in Newport. But the girls are much better at that. So very blessed.
You still have that same reputation at home of the nickname Mr. Clean on your playing days, huh?
Well, yeah. They try to keep me in line.
Yeah.
If I keep one little sock or shorts are not in the right place, then I'm
Well, and I've always looked at you, Steve, as a family man. I mean, growing up a Dodger fan, and I followed your career during the playing years and after, and I've always looked at you as a family man first, and then who was an incredible ball player. And you're just what you've been talking about. It just talks about that work-life balance and making sure you're invested in your kids and in your grandkids and in your relationship with Candace and all those things. Those are the most important things in your life. And all the business things, yes, they're important and they're part of that recipe, that formula, but the family foundation comes first. That home team comes first. And I just love that. Hey, tell me about a hobby that nobody knows about or that very few people know about.
Mitch, you really think I have time for a hobby?
Yes,
no, I enjoy,
know you.
I enjoy, my golf now. I don't play tennis like I used to. I used to have the largest celebrity charity tennis event in the country in Los Angeles, and we do so many charitable things. And I've hosted a number of events over the years. But I like to get out and play a round of golf once a week or so. We live in this Coachella Valley, which is phenomenal. 102 golf courses in the valley here. I enjoy it. I really do. And then, of course, I try to stay close to baseball. And I don't work for the Dodgers or Padres, but
okay, Steve,
yeah.
You're not answering my question. We know about those hobbies. Give me something that nobody knows about that you enjoy doing.
I just, that's just a good question. I don't have that secret hobby. I just try to. Well, you know what? It's not a hobby. But what's come up recently is this great new business called Cameo. And what it is people will be able to spend $25 or whatever it is to have you deliver a message to them through this Cameo company out of Chicago. So it's been really fun when, I've got 5 of them on my phone now I've got to do today. Having people, they get a paragraph of what they'd like you to say and who it is and what kind of person it is. It's really been fun to do these. And it's the money's superfluous because being able to deliver a message that they can have in perpetuity, I think is really a pretty neat thing to do. So I look forward to those every week. And if I haven't gotten one in a week, I go, nobody cares about me anymore.
Okay, I'll let you off the hook, but that's not really a hobby, but that's okay.
I know, Mitch. Well,
hey, what's next for you this next 12 months? What do you got coming up that hasn't been launched yet? What's on the back burner?
Well, new products with Cadenwood, obviously. Again, we have the tinctures. We're going to come up with the Level Select patches and sports tape. But I think that, our world's very interesting. The All-Star game, tentatively this year in Los Angeles, should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to a great baseball season. Something always comes up where somebody says, would you look at this and what do you think? And probably 9 out of 10, I'll give them some ideas of what they can do with it, how to prepare, but it's probably too much time for me or it's not quite fit in with our package or things we're doing now. But I'm very, very interested in developing the stem cell business with Mike Berkowitz, Pacific Stem Cells, because we're really helping people on a daily basis improve their lives. So that's probably the one, along with Cadenwood, that are the 2 focuses. And God will throw something out to us to challenge us again, I'm quite sure.
He always does. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you can have any business in the world, what would it be? But you know what, Steve? I think that you are doing exactly what you want, what you're meant to do, and I think it's a perfect fit. I don't think there's any different answer than what you've already given me. So, Steve, go ahead.
One more thing. When I speak, and I picked this up from a wonderful book it was called Book on Character by a fellow who writes New York Times, and excuse me, but I dropped his name for a minute. But in there, he talks about, why are we living our lives? Are we living our lives for our resume or for our eulogy? And that struck me. I read this about 2-3 years ago, and I've used it ever since. And I think that's so very important. We should always ask ourselves, are we doing this just to build ourselves up? Or are we doing this to make a difference in somebody else's life? And as long as I don't forget that, I think that I'll continue to make a difference.
Absolutely. And I want to throw one more thing into if you like
Not
to
another hobby. Uh-oh.
No. There's a book that you wrote. It's called My Bat Boy Days, Lessons I Learned from the Boys of Summer. You can get it on Amazon. Highly recommend it. It's a great read about your Bat Boy days, lessons you've learned, your relationships with a lot of the great Hall of Famers that you rubbed elbows with. And I recommend people go out and grab a copy of that today. Steve Garvey, thank you so much for being gracious with your time. I know we had a few extra minutes in here, but I really appreciate it, and good luck with everything you got going on.
Pleasure, Mitch. God bless.
There you have it. Steve Garvey, up close and personal. And I think my biggest takeaways from his insights and wisdom was his perspective of making sure that he was focused on the things in his life that are truly important and that made the biggest difference. Some great advice from one of America's all-time great individuals. Well, that will do it for another episode. My parting shot today is this. Baseball is the only field of endeavor where a man can succeed 3 times out of 10 and be considered a great performer. Ted Williams. Until next time, this is Mitch Graf reminding you to live with passion. Catch you later. Hi there, this is Mitch Graf, the host of Business Edge Radio. Would you do me a couple of very big favors? First, I invite you to subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes. This will help other forward thinkers just like you discover the show. Second, I ask that you share the show on your social media platforms. And third, I would love it if you connected with us on social at Unleashed Tribe on Facebook and Instagram, or log on to powermarketing101.com to find more great resources. If you could do this for me, you would be a superhero in my book, and I would be eternally grateful. This episode is being brought to you by the School of Hard Knocks. If you're anything like me, you know many people who have wounds and scars from battles won and lost in their life. We've all heard it said before that, oh, he or she is a student at the School of Hard Knocks, or the best lessons I've ever learned are from the School of Hard Knocks. Well, this prestigious university has some of the best alumni in the entire world, and the curriculum is more difficult than Stanford Medical School. You can't apply for admission, and you don't get to pick your classes. We all know that special person who always seems to be hit with adversity and obstacles, but always comes out the other end with a smile. Now, there's a special gift that is unlike anything they've ever received. As we all know, the School of Hard Knocks has one of the most difficult curriculum of any school in the world, and you now can give the gift of a PhD from this prestigious university. This authentic-looking diploma is printed on the same high-quality paper that the top schools in the world use for their diplomas, and comes with an official gold foil seal that will look great framed in any room. Signed by both the president of Perpetual Hard Knocks as well as the dean of adversity, this PhD degree will light up any room and become the center of conversation. The diploma reads PhD in Street Smarts and Learning the Hard Way, with a minor in Picking Yourself Up by the Bootstraps. This hard-fought degree is indeed a gift that money cannot buy. Get one for your spouse, for your boss, your parent, your best friend. Give them the gift that money can't buy today. For a limited time, when you place your order at www.schoolofhardknocks.net, you'll receive a special Business Edge Radio discount of 20% at checkout when you enter the code word EDGE. Once again, 20% off your first order when you use the code EDGE at checkout. And to sweeten the pot just a little bit more, I'm also going to include a complimentary digital copy of High Voltage Branding, Go From Ordinary to Extraordinary, as my gift to you. www.schoolofhardknocks.net. That's www.schoolofhardknocks.net. Get one for that person in your life who seems to have everything, or heck, get one for yourself. You've earned it. In today's business world, it is vitally important that you understand what I call the 7 pillars of business success, which are lifestyle design, time management, branding, sales, marketing, pricing, and social media. Regardless of what industry you're in, and whether you have a brick and mortar or you're only online, having a solid foundation in these skill sets will set you up for success down the road. And to personally help you with your journey, I've come out with the Business Edge podcast, which you're listening to right this second, and I've also written a book that I can highly recommend called Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course, now available on Amazon.com, and will give you the 30,000-foot view of all these topics and many, many more. You know, reading is something that is slowly being replaced by videos and audiobooks or just scrolling through your newsfeed on social media, but I've always found reading to be kind of an escape from whatever is happening in the world. This book will help you slow down just a little bit so you can get your business house in order, so to speak, and get your creative juices a-flowing. Log on to Amazon.com today and get your copy of Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course. You can search my name, Mitch Graf, or search the title of the book. In the dog-eat-dog world of business success, the weak will perish and the strong will survive. Which will you be?
Thanks for hanging out with Business Edge Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to subscribe, rate, and review. Then hop on over to www.mitchgraf.com to get even more meat and potatoes. We also invite you to follow the show at facebook.com/Unleashed Tribe. The most valuable asset that any of us has is our time. And we thank you for choosing to spend some of your precious time with us.